Can you beat Fallout 4 with only a rolling pin? So here's my character. It looks like Nora. It talks like Nora. She's a lawyer just like Nora. But this is Ethel. And yes, that's a reference to Mitten Squad's rolling pin run in New Vegas. So I'm just gonna start running, and Nate, who was in the military, he can run after me with the kid. I always thought that it was weird that the only thing the guard cares about is that we're a family. Bit odd, but I won't be choosing total atomic annihilation instead. And as soon as we're ready to go down, it happens. War always changes. They have nuclear bombs now. So we go into the cryopod and everything goes to hell. Nate's dead, Sean's taken, and apparently I'm the backup. I somehow managed to get out of the fridge, and I was going through the vault. I found a steam pack, but not a rolling pin. This means I cannot engage in combat until I find one. Looking a bit different, but that's Sanctuary alright. I still couldn't find a rolling pin, but I did manage to find Codsworth. I've decided that if he wants to search the neighborhood, then sure, we might engage in one last family activity. But first, I want to pick up that Grognet magazine that's 5% more critical hit damage for my future melee weapon. I also went and picked the Your Special magazine, using it for Endurance 10. And yes, it's strength that dictates the power of a melee weapon, but trust me, you will very soon understand. I let Codsworth do his thing, and he finally realized that, yes, Nate's dead and Sean's been kidnapped. He wants me to go to Concord. I, on the other hand, want to do no such thing until I have the goddamn rolling pin, so I have a better idea. I'll go into Red Rocket, activate the workshop. I'll have to ignore the goodest of boys, cause I'm not fit to fight mole rats just yet. Yeah. I found Trash Can Carla and asked for directions to the Great Green Jewel, Diamond City. For a game that's known by marking things on your map, I don't know what happened here. Going through the main roads, all I found was a need to run when a couple of mines were in the way. The walk was a breeze. I heard the Diamond City security guards fighting off some muties, and I ran like hell, and that's when I saw Cricket and thought maybe she has a rolling pin or a cheap fusion core. Except she didn't. So I went to see what Piper wanted, ignored McDonough, and went right on in. Arturo did not have better prices nor a rolling pin, which is a shame because now I have to go with plan B, which is to get 3 fusion cores. And I don't have a plan C, but since we're here, we might as well go into the detective agency, only to find that the detective is missing. Oh, the irony. Now, I can't just go and rescue the Minutemen yet without the rolling pin, even though that there's a fusion core in there for the taking. However, I remembered a place that has a power armor with a fusion core on it. Unfortunately, I don't have the stats or the perks to get it. I also remembered that there's a fusion core on Starlight Drive-In. I just need to run past a rat roach, but I didn't have any bobby pins. This is going really, really well. There's another location with a fusion core though. The Mole Rat Den under Red Rocket. So if I go by every single one of them without attacking them... Oh, where is the thing? Oh, by the other generator. Okay. So I went back to Sanctuary and started looting the place until I found some bobby pins. Fortunately, I found several, and something else, a bunker with gold bars. So I looted the place and I went back to Starlight. And shouldn't the red roach be inside? Whatever. I'm just gonna get the thing and go out. Back to Diamond City, and we're ready to experience the synth paranoia that these folks have. Back to bartering with Arturo so we can get our 3rd fusion core. Might as well give a Nuka-Cola to Sheffield so he can work for me. And now that I see Mo staring at me, I might just go check if he has a rolling pin. But he doesn't. So we go to Vault 81. I cannot pass the speech check, so I hand them 3 fusion cores, and they let me in. Ashes runs away, Funny enough, Aaron gives you a fusion core if you retrieve him, but now's a little too late for me to care about the fusion cores. So I just tell Austin to buzz off. And where would the rolling pin be? My guess would be the kitchen, but nope, it's in a random room, because of course it's in a random room, and I'm just gonna have to steal it, considering how I purchased a fusion core for over 600 caps, and the overseer paid me 300 for the 3 of them. I think I deserve this as a freebie. I then went to the first weapons workbench I could find so we could upgrade this bad boy. There's no perk requirements to improve the weapon, so I'm just gonna make a spiked aluminum rolling pin, but that's a mouthful, so I might as well call it mittens, and there you go. Have another reference to the king of Fallout challenges, it's free. Now, thinking that I would be saving time for later, I decided to go and get some settlements. Starlight Drive-In had some mole rats, the Abernathy Farm had a family, and when I was getting into Sunshine Tidings, I remembered I can take a couple perks. So I went with Idiot Savant and Solar Powered, as that is a +2 to strength and to endurance when it's day. I love it. I took care of the glue problem, I met Professor Goodfields, and decided we needed a couple more perks. So I decided to bore myself by scrapping everything and building wooden posts until I was level 12. It was now time to choose our perks. I went with Toughness, Big Leagues, Black Widow, and Bloody Mess. Yes, I forgot to use Idiot Savant's level 2, and I'll also be choosing Lone Wanderer. I also found some clothes and armor that would protect me better as I was looting, and we're finally ready. So you know how this one goes. You kill some raiders outside, you go in, you pick up the fusion core, kill some more raiders, Preston says hi, Sturgis can't hack, thinks we want a minigun, we pick up a magazine with a game we'll never play again, and we get ourselves a bobblehead. We then go into the roof, get into the power armor, grab the minigun, which I very quickly go back to the glorious rolling pin. I then trust Preston to take care of that raider on the roof. I kill Gristle, and I run from a Deathclaw that's chasing me. With a little bit of patience, and even though we can hit each other, I can keep hitting the Deathclaw until I defeat it. After that, we go back in, we listen to Marcy complain a little bit more, and we all decide to head back to Sanctuary, where Preston then sends us to do the first step quest. So we'll be going over to 10 Pines Bluff. And here is where I see something that's really uncommon. Instead of asking me to go to Corvega, they ask me to go to the Bad TFL regional office, and it's so great. We just take care of some raiders, pick up some of their armor along the way, and go back to 10 Pines to report our success. They agreed to join the Minutemen, and Preston's so happy. He cannot stop marking things on my map. It's now time to go and rescue the detective that's missing so he can help us find our missing son. I took care of some triggermen, picked up the Lone Wanderer perk, and I found Nick. We had to take care of Skinny Malone because I don't have the perks to end this peacefully, and then we went back to his detective agency. As we were telling Nick all we knew, he hints us that Kellogg might be the person we're after. Nick then decides to take the longest route and make it a race, but going over to Kellogg's house, we discover it's behind a master lock. So we go over to the mayor's office, where Piper's accusing the secretary of having an affair with McDonough. Then I tried to ask McDonough for the key, but he didn't care, so I stole it from right under his nose and went back to Nick. Having unlocked the door and finding a secret button that leads into a secret room, all we've found is a brand of cigars and another one of beer. Great. Fortunately, Nick knows the right person for the job. Except it's not a person, it's dog meat. I decided not to use companions, but it would have been fun to see Nick with a rolling pin. I must remain focused though. Dogmeat finds his scent, we find more clues, and we end up in Fort Hagen. being attacked by super mutants because I decided to make it day. After taking good care of them, we went right on in to find and fight Kellogg. I was mowing down sins. I was able to level up once again. This time we went for the big league's third perk. The fight with Kellogg was surprisingly easy. It was at this moment that I knew I was onto something, even though I wasn't yet aware of the monstrous build I accidentally built. So we pick up what's left of his brain in the form of a weird USB drive. The terminal hints at Sean being with him, and we go outside. And there it is, the Bridwin, in all its might and glory, surrounded by some of the crappier weather I've ever seen. We go meet with Nick, discuss our findings. Piper's there doing her thing, wanting to know everything about everyone, and we're sent off to Good Neighbor to meet Dr. Amari, someone who might be able to help us. We're greeted by a guy that wants to extort us, and Hancock decides to intervene. I guess Finn wasn't exactly for the people. In the memory den, we explain the situation to Dr. Amari, who has the idea of connecting Kellogg's USB brain into Nick and have us go take a look at his memories. I did my best to skip everything because I've played this game 3,000 times. And we find ourselves a clue. A scientist named Virgil managed to escape the Institute. But first, we get to see Nick speaking as Kellogg. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw this happen, I dropped Nick way too quickly. We managed to go through the glowing sea without using red eggs or fighting enemies, but not without some red scorpions chasing me. We're able to get to the crater, filled with children of the atom, that do help us fight the red scorpions, but the NPC we're supposed to talk to has become a little bit too dead. Fortunately, she has a note on her inventory that allows us to proceed without any issue. So we go and try to find Virgil. Getting into his cave triggers some experience that allows us to level up again. Since I didn't even plan to build much more than this, I ended up just putting the point on strength. We then explain to Virgil that we're not after him and that Kellogg's dead. We just want to get into the Institute so we can find our son, Sean. And he doesn't even mention to us that there's a Sean right there. That's a bit rude if you ask me. But Virgil can help us if we go and fight a Corsair in Green Tech Genetics so we can have more synthetic brains to help with our quest. Without much interest to fight the Gunners, I managed to simply run from them until we got into the elevator, and now it's showtime. And seriously, this is the point where I know I have a build that's amazing and that will show its full glory. It's not the cleanest fight, but I have never had this fight being such a breeze at such low level. Against the cursor, like this, never. So we get out of Green Tech Genetics and go back to Dr. Amari. She's done what she can, but there's someone that she knows might help us. So she sends us to go and find the railroad, so they can help us decode whatever's in the Corsair chip. So we're gonna do exactly that. We follow the Freedom Trail, meet Desdemona and the rest of the group, and then she introduces us to Tinker Tom. He manages to decode the chip, and they give us what we need in return for letting them keep the chip. With that code, we can now return to Virgil, who has managed to create a prototype that will allow us to teleport into the Institute. Well, it's blueprints, not the whole prototype, you know. But now we have it, and here's where I've forgotten that Red Rocket does not count towards the Taking Independence quest to unlock the castle, so I did one of Preston's quests. I got back to him, asked some help to build the signal interceptor, and he finally asked me to take back the castle. I spoke to Sturgis, he gave me the okay, but I plan on building this one on the castle, so we're not gonna do it now. Time to get another perk, so we're going with Lone Wanderer 2. We swim until we're close to the castle, we tell the Minutemen to go guns blazing, and we're off. to deal with some mirelurks. They only required patience and stim packs, and the queen was no different. Took me a couple stim packs, especially on her, but aside from being a really long and boring fight, it was no issue at all. Preston then asks us to build a couple generators so we can power up Radio Freedom. Then I go back to Sanctuary to send everyone to the castle, but Mama Murphy, June, and Marcy stayed behind because I couldn't move them. I also realized that Sturgis is a little bit glitched, but it's fine. Going back to the castle and we see Ronnie Shaw. So I built a couple beds for the people coming in, then I built the interceptor. Sturgis included a wiggling tube just for decoration, and we were sent into the Institute. Once we were in, the first thing I did was to retrieve the data Sturgis asked me about, and we had our first contact with Father. He sends us down an elevator into a room that has someone we've been wanting to meet all along. Sean! Not this one, that's just a synth. This one, the old man. That's our Sean. He wants us to meet all of the heads of the Institute, so we do. Dr. Lee installs something in our Pip-Boy that allows us to teleport to and from the Institute. So I use that. I go back to Sturgis and I give him the holotape he asked for. Knowing that there's gonna be a huge fight, I've built some basic machine gun turrets and spoke with Ronnie. I did her old guns quest so we can have some artillery in the castle. I found some schematics and we went on to test the cannons. Everything went great. I put another point into strength and decided to go back to Sean. I give him a slight whack because I don't want to have to deal with him dying due to natural scripted causes. I fled to the elevator and had an unnamed Institute scientist lecturing me and threatening me. I've also realized the error of my ways because the required settlements have to be Minutemen settlements. So, in order for us to move on with the story,
the Institute is now our
I went and got a couple more settlements. Soon as that was done, it was now time to defend the castle because the Institute's planning to attack us. And I gotta be honest, for an institution that prides themselves on having coursers being extremely strong, we melted what felt like a dozen. And if you'd like to know what it's like to whack a courser to death with another two shooting at you and still win, then this build just might be for you. It's absolutely ridiculous. I knew the toughness perk was overpowered, but I have no idea what kind of combos you could do with it. And it's now time to infiltrate the Institute. Again, except this time we're gonna go through sewers to get there. We defeat a couple turrets, some synths, and we're in. We then use a holotape to teleport Preston, Sturgis, and two unnamed Minutemen. Yes, I'm sure that this is a 5-people job as well. I'm so glad Preston thought this one through. I ran like crazy to get to the reactor, but we find ourselves locked up with no place to go. Great! I'm just gonna have to take care of another 1,000 synths and some coursers. Which, with this build, sure, no problem, but it gets boring. Sturgis then informs us that we need to get to Sean's room so we can unlock the Institute from there. Well, remove the lockdown, that's what I mean. We're also gonna issue the evacuation order, because I'd rather they start leaving than shooting at me. Not that I think that it's gonna make a difference, but it's still the morally right thing to do. We suddenly care about morals, apparently. With the path to the reactor unlocked, we make a sprint for it, and we don't stop until we plant the fusion pulse charger in the reactor. We're then teleported to the teleporter, yes, you heard that correctly, only to be greeted by Synth Sean. You know what? Fine. Jump on the bandwagon, kiddo. We're then teleported to a location where we can safely watch the Institute blow up to pieces. And with the press of a button, the challenge ends as the game began. Because war never changes. So, can you beat Fallout 4 with only a rolling pin? Yes, and this video was heavily inspired by Midden Squad, so go send Paul some love. Wish you the best, man. Miss your content. Take your time. May the world be a little bit more kind to you and to everyone still here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hope I'll see you on the next one. And I hope you have a good one. Bye.